Hello everyone, this is Sam Carlegian. Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to another comparison. Today we're going to compare the new 2022 Acura MDX. And of course, we're going to compare it against its competitor, which is the Lincoln Aviator. Now, the Lincoln Aviator returned into the market a couple of years ago. This year, we have the 2021 model, which is technically very much the same as the previous generation. Actually, it's very much the same as the first generation that came out recently. That has received a new design, new chassis, new platform, new interior, a lot of new features, and it is very different from the old generation. And if you don't believe me, you can watch my video, comparison the old Acura MDX versus the new one. You can find that link in the description box. But for today, we're going to compare these two and find out which one is the best out of these two vehicles. Two three-row SUVs, specifically luxury three-row SUVs. Special thanks for this video goes to our good friends at Performance Acura North Mississauga for allowing me to borrow the MDX again. And don't forget, I'm going to compare it against all its competitors, from the Cadillac XT6, Genesis GV80, and the rest of them, to find out if the MDX can go up against its current competitors. Now, one thing you need to know about Performance Acura North Mississauga, they're an Acura dealership located in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. And most importantly, this video is not sponsored in any way by this dealership or any other dealership for that matter. My videos do not get sponsored by dealerships at this point. If time comes, I will definitely let you know, but I want to have the most unbiased and professional opinion. This is the goal for this video. So let's start first with the Lincoln Aviator. What does the Lincoln Aviator offer that makes it so special, and why does it cost more than the MDX? And then we're going to talk about the MDX. What does it offer? How do these two compare? Is it better than the Aviator? Which one should you buy? That's the goal. And then we're going to take it on the road for a test drive and show you everything you need to know about both vehicles. So first of all, let's start with the Lincoln Aviator. So why should you buy the Aviator over that? Here are a few things that you need to know. If you like spicier model, if you like a bit more horsepower, the Aviator in here under the hood uses a V6 twin turbo engine. Makes close to 400 horsepower. Now that is the model that we have for today's video. Then you have the next one, which of course is the Aviator plug-in hybrid, which makes more horsepower. It comes with an electric motor. The next thing you need to know is the fact that the Aviator can tow more compared to the Acura MDX. So for example, the V6 under the hood for the MDX can tow up to 5,000 pounds with the right setup, and of course that's for the all-wheel drive system. The Lincoln Aviator tows a bit more than that. That's because it offers a bigger engine. The next thing you need to know is that the Acura MDX in the future will be available as a Type S model, which means it was going to make more horsepower compared to the standard one, which uses a V6 engine. It is the first V6 engine used in the MDX that it is paired with a 10-speed automatic transmission. And most important is that the Type S will receive a V6 engine, but it's also turbocharged, which will make more horsepower, which also means will offer better towing capacity compared to the Lincoln. But at this point, out of these two, the Lincoln is, of course, the winner in terms of the towing capacity. Now, 5,000 pounds is still a lot for a three-row SUV, so the difference is about 1,500 pounds or so compared to the Lincoln. Now, the next thing you need to know is the fact that the Lincoln Aviator with the higher trim package offers air suspension system, and the way the air suspension system works is that based on the cameras located in the front, it detects the road imperfections, and based on that, it levels the vehicle so that way you can get the best and most comfortable ride. It literally calculates about 500 times a second or so. That way it avoids hard bumps on the road, so that way it gives you a perfect ride compared to the MDX, which offers a standard suspension system, of course with some adjustability. Now, the model we have for today's video is actually not fully loaded, and it doesn't offer an air ride suspension system. We're going to talk about that ride once we take them on the road. The next thing you need to know is that the Lincoln Aviator, it uses soft closing options. So That way you don't actually have to slam the doors, it closes softly. And that, of course, is for all the doors. And most importantly, the Aviator does offer a plug-in hybrid, which means in Ontario and in some states in the US or provinces in Canada, you're able to qualify for green plates. Green plates are important because you get to use, of course, the HOV lanes. With the MDX, we don't have any hybrids at the moment. The hybrid version of this basically works with the electric motors. It gives you about 29-30 kilometers on a single charge, which is not a lot, but then it recharges itself as you're driving, so that way it compensates and gives you better range. But out of these two, the Lincoln Aviator will be an absolute guzzler. That is for sure, because it's a bigger engine, makes more horsepower, and it's also heavier compared to the MDX. Now, let's go to the back. The next thing you need to know is that both vehicles offer power liftgate with the option to kick underneath and then basically open the tailgate, and you can close it the same way in both models. What you need to know about the Lincoln Aviator with the air suspension system, it offers an option where it lowers the back side so that way you have easy access to the cargo space. Pretty smart. And most importantly, what I love about the Lincoln, that unfortunately I said in the previous video in the MDX that I did, that Acura failed with that feature, is the fact that it didn't offer any control unit for the seats in the back. So that way you can actually fold the seats in front, the second row and the third row. So that way it's easy access from here. You don't have to go around the vehicle to open to fold the seats. In terms of seating capacity, both offer 6 to 7 seats. In this case, we have 2 captain chairs for the Lincoln Aviator. On top of that, the Aviator in the center offers 2 buttons in here for the actual sunshade, so you can close it and open, so you have easy access. The climate unit is the same in both vehicles. They both have heated seats in the back. They both offer the option to control the audio system, radio, and so on from the rear end. The next thing you need to know is that in the Lincoln Aviator, the doors actually don't have any proper handle to open it from inside. You have a button located into the side. That could be a negative thing or a positive thing. That means if it breaks down more often, you have to change the whole thing. That's the one disadvantage. But the advantage of it is that it opens pretty quickly and easy access. So even for seniors, for example, it's very comfortable. You just press the button and it will open the door automatically. It doesn't necessarily open the door fully, but it unlocks it. Now, in terms of sunshade, both have the sunshades on the side. Now, let me show you a couple of cool things that you get in the Aviator in the front that you're missing in the MDX. The next thing to love about the Lincoln Aviator is, of course, the seats. In the front specifically, it offers up to 35 ways of adjusting it. Probably the most advanced seats on a 3-row SUV, in my opinion. As you can see, they're actually on the side, so they're kind of like similar to the Mercedes vehicles, which is offered on the door panel instead of the actual seat underneath. So you can see you can adjust pretty much the headrest, you have the leg extenders in the front and so on. So you have over 30 ways to adjust the seats. And of course, they offer massage seats in the front. So it's something that you're missing in the Acura MDX. As you can see, the seats over here, look how nice and how different they are from the ones in the MDX. They're separated. The headrest can be adjusted as well. And then you have this part here, this part here, this part here, and the leg extenders too. In the MDX, you can of course fix the bolsters and so on to give you a more comfortable ride. We're gonna talk about the seats once we take it for a drive and see how these two compare. What I like about the Lincoln overall is the fact that you got a lot of compartments in here and you have more space in this side. So as you can see, in this area, and the actual wireless charging pad is located inside in this area, so you can slide it in. That to me, it's a bit of a disadvantage. In order for you to actually take out the phone, you have to open the armrest so that way you can reach for your phone. Now technically you're not going to do that while you're driving because you're not supposed to, but for easy access it's far better to be outside, in my opinion. But what they have done is they've included this little clip so it stays nice and firm. Now, the problem with this, what I see, is the fact that it's too small, and most phones now are coming, you know, bigger and bigger. They're getting bigger and bigger. And the MDX is actually slightly bigger, so you can slide the phone right under the handle. Easy access, in my opinion. And you can turn it off in the MDX. What I love about the Lincoln as well is self-parking mode. So you have the option in here. It will basically recognize the spot and it helps you to park the vehicle. And then as you can see in there, it shows you different types of parking, parallel parking, and so on. and then it started looking, you have to turn on the signal and it will basically park itself, help you with in certain areas if it's too tight. So that is a huge benefit for the Lincoln Aviator. Now, in terms of design on the interior, the Lincoln Aviator has a lot of chrome finished parts, as you can see in this area, this wood around it. It's nice looking interior. I don't know how I feel against the MDX. I feel like this is showing itself too much as a luxury vehicle. It's out there, it's saying I'm luxurious inside. That's the way I see this. It's not trying to be any different from any other model. It has digital cluster, heads-up display, although the screen in the MDX is slightly bigger. We'll talk about that when we go into the MDX. And most important is that what I love about this is it actually has a touchscreen option, something that you're missing in the MDX. Now let's talk about the Acura MDX. The first thing you need to know is the fact that out of these two, the MDX will cost you less, whether it's the lower trim or the higher trim. On top of that, the MDX offers a lot more options in terms of trim compared to the Lincoln Aviator, which in Canada it only offers 2 trims. Most importantly is the fact that the lower trim will cost you a lot less compared to the Aviator. So that is one advantage of the MDX. The second thing you need to know is the fact that the new MDX has similar engine to the previous generation. So technically, if you've ever owned the older generation, you know very much the fuel consumption, because it's going to be pretty much the same. Now, with the new model, you get better fuel efficiency, but it's technically the same engine, but you get a 10-speed automatic transmission. But out of these two, this offers better fuel efficiency, something to keep in mind. The next thing you need to know about the MDX is that behind the third row, it offers more cargo space compared to the Lincoln Aviator. And there is a simple reason. See, under here, what Acura has done is it offered you more space around this area. And if we remove this here, that it comes with this package, it also has the winter package, as you can see, the rubber mats everywhere. You can remove this, slide it completely under, and now you got more space there. So that is a huge benefit compared to the Lincoln Aviator. So it gives you overall more space, and that's one benefit of the MDX compared to the Lincoln. And then, of course, this is not just placed in like freely. It actually has a lock in here, so it's not going to move left and right, or it's going to rattle on the road. That's very important. The next thing that the MDX offers is a button located onto the side over here, and of course you have a power outlet as well. So if you have your key fob with you, you press that button, and then it gives you a couple of seconds, and you walk away. And it locks the vehicle. So that's a huge benefit. Now, in the Lincoln Aviator, you have 2 buttons at the top, so you can do that. The only difference is the fact that this gives you a few seconds before it closes, so that way you grab your stuff and you walk away freely. So you actually have 1 button to press. Easy access. Now, the next thing you need to know is the third row. So let's talk about that for a second. I'm going to go into the Lincoln Aviator first. I'll show you how easy or hard it is to go into the third row. Now, technically, the third rows are not used for adults, but let's just say that you have to get someone my height in the back. So let's test out the Lincoln Aviator. First of all, both vehicles have the option power seat here, so to fold it, and you get a little bit of space. You can't fold the seat completely, but let's just try this for a moment. So, as you can see in the Aviator, not much space into the third row. Not the best. And honestly, if I pull the seat towards me, it's not going to be a very comfortable ride. So it's very tight in here. On top of that, you get no USB ports, just air vents with this package. Just not the most comfortable in the back. Now let's jump into the MDX. Let's try to come out of here. Not the most comfortable. As I said, in the MDX, you have the same thing. You have a button located onto the top of the seat, and then you have a button over at the bottom. You also have this lever over here too. So let's try. First of all, you notice there's a bit more space in here to get in. Slightly more space. easy to get in. And if you look carefully, this is the rail. My foot, it's right here. So your foot is actually able to go under. So that way it gives you more space. And technically you have a bit more space in here. But most important is that my head is moving freely. Now my hair is pretty long, of course. It's going to touch the roof. It's going to touch the roof over here, but you're moving freely and back and forth, easy. I wouldn't say it's the most comfortable, the third row. We know they're not for adults, but the difference is there for sure. Most important, you have USB ports here, cup holders as well, similar to the Lincoln Aviator, but you have one here and one on this side. Now let's try to come out. Pretty easy. Now let's talk about the second row. That's where things get very interesting, something that I absolutely love about the MDX. In the new MDX, you have, of course, the climate unit, you have heated seats in the back, and you also have the option for the passenger in the back to actually control the radio and so on. So you get a couple of options in here compared to the Lincoln Aviator. On top of that, we have power outlet for 12 volts and one for 115 volts underneath, and two plugs at the bottom for USB ports. Now, the next thing you need to know about the MDX is something that I have offered in this new generation. So first of all, this looks very much like an armrest, correct? You have two cup holders here, some space here, you can use it. The next thing you can do is turn it into a full seat. So you have this thing here, bang on. Now it's into proper seat. Most importantly, let's just say you have kids that play hockey or you go skiing during winter time, as it is right now snowing. If you have sticks, for example, the hockey sticks, they're pretty long. And the guys at Acura showed me something very interesting. You can slide the sticks completely all the way to the back. That way, you get space in here for all the equipment, and you have seats for each side. That way, you get more space in this area. Now, what else you can do with this is very interesting. So you have a lever located to the side here. You just pull that. You can literally remove this completely. Now, in terms of the child seat itself, I don't know if you could fit a child seat in here, if that is legal, but you do have the option to remove this completely and fit the child seat in the center. It does have like the grabs onto here, the hooks on each side. I would assume that you'd have to do it on top of the seat for the child seat, so that way it's nicely tight. But most important is the fact that you have the option to remove this completely. If you needed more space in the center, let's just say you're going for a road trip and you need more space in here, you don't have enough space in the third row, you have that option on this side. So let's talk about the MDX in the first row. First of all, here's what you need to know. It has new interior compared to the old generation. You can watch that video more in detail. You can find the link in the description box. But you have new cluster. Of course, it is digital, similar to the one in the Lincoln Aviator. You have a full heads-up display, 10-inch heads-up display, massive heads-up display. The disappointing part that I said previously is the fact that the new MDX doesn't actually offer a full touchscreen. So this is not touchscreen for the infotainment cluster. For the infotainment system, you don't get a full touchscreen, but you do get this trackpad. Now, I said in the TLX that I wasn't a big fan of the system. Now, I said in the TLX that I'm not a big fan of this option. Some people might like that. If you've used it before, let's say in a Lexus, it's very much similar to that kind of system, easy to use for some people, I guess. But with this screen, you have a 12.3-inch infotainment screen, which is massive in my opinion. And most important is that it is quite sharp. When you have a bigger screen, it is easier to work this kind of system. When it's smaller, for some reason, you can't get used to it as fast as you could, for example, in this. But you do have some control in here. So for example, for home, you can change the actual screen. You can split it. So on this side, you have the map. And then on my left side, you have the menus. So you can play the radio or whatever. Most important is that the new generation MDX compared to the Lincoln Aviator offers a wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. That means you don't actually have to connect to the infotainment system through cables anymore. That's it. Just slide your phone right in here. This is the wireless charging pad, and as you can see, it's quite massive. And if phones get bigger and bigger with time, you could probably fit even a tablet at this point, because this thing is pretty huge, and you can turn it on and turn it off. The other thing I love about this is the armrest in here. So the handrest, you have the armrest here, the handrest is nice and comfortable, and on top of that you can rest it in there and then use the infotainment system. So it is easy in certain ways if you get used to it with time. The next thing I love about this is the 360 camera. In my opinion, this is so much sharper and cleaner compared to the one in the Lincoln Aviator. On top, beside the fact that this is a 12.3-inch infotainment screen, so you can see quite a lot. Another thing I love about the MDX is the fact that it offers auto heated seats and ventilated seats. So what does that actually mean? So for example, if it's cold outside, the seat will turn on the heated option. And if it's too cold, it goes from level 1, 2, and 3. It's the same thing for ventilated. So you press this button, you can do it auto or manual. So we have for both sides, passenger and the driver's side. Now for the passenger, it's pretty cool. The only way it will turn on if it notices that there is actually a passenger seated. So that way it doesn't use energy or fuel or anything. So it's automatically the entire time, temperature-wise, and of course, if it detects a human sitting in there. The next thing you're gonna find in the MDX that you're missing in the Lincoln is 3 memory seats for both sides, passenger and driver's side. So as you can see on the door panel, it's the same thing on this side. So you got 3 of them. You can, if you have too many people driving this car, if it's yourself, your wife, your husband, or kids, for example, they can adjust that you have 3 options. It's, again, for both sides, the passenger and the driver's side. The next thing I love about it, which makes this a clean design, is the fact that the USB port is completely hidden. So in order for you to find where the actual plug is, you press this and it pops out. A clean, nice design. Absolutely love that. Now, the next question is, how do they drive? And that's what we're gonna do. First, we're gonna take this for a test drive. I want to talk about some of the things that I love about this, and then we'll jump into the Lincoln Aviator. So let's go for a drive. Okay, so let's go for a drive. The first thing I noticed with this, after jumping from the Aviator to this, is the steering wheel. It's so much lighter. That's one thing you need to know about the MDX. It uses a new system. I've gone into details in the comparison I did between old and new. You can find that link in the description box. Now, the important thing you need to know about the MDX versus the Lincoln Aviator, this is more a family 3-row SUV that someone is not looking necessarily for a bit of power. That doesn't mean that it's not powerful. It makes 295 horsepower, so that it's good enough for a 3-row SUV. Most importantly, it offers full driving, self-driving capability. Not necessarily it drives itself, but more so full adaptive cruise control with lane assist, gap assist, and so on. I've tested in the previous video, if you watched that one. It is quite spacious in here. That's another thing. And what I love about the MDX is the fact that you're sitting much lower compared to the Lincoln. In the Lincoln, you feel like you're in a pickup truck. And here, it feels more like an RDX than it feels like a 3-row SUV. That's the way I see the MDX, in my opinion. Visibility is fantastic as well. The mirrors are huge in here. Almost the same size as the Lincoln Aviator. You got a 360 camera, which you can turn it on. You see this button over here onto the side. You press this, and now you have a full view. Most importantly, that only works in low speed, similar to the Lincoln Aviator, but you have easy access in this area. The other thing that you need to know is that the new generation uses bigger brake rotors, thicker and better compared to the previous generation. It's so much softer on the ride. The only way to get a softer ride in the Lincoln Aviator, in my opinion, you have to go all the way to the air suspension system, which means it's the more expensive option. And here, even with this package now in comfort mode, you can change, there we go, into comfort. It's soft ride, not necessarily a boat ride, but very soft and comfortable. You can enjoy the drive here and just relax. It can go fast when you want it. So for example, let's just put it into sport mode. Now the steering got a bit stiffer, for sure about 20% or so. You have better throttle reaction. Nice. The transmission in the new MDX is a 10-speed automatic transmission, and it is better shifting compared to it shifts better compared to the previous generation. It uses a sporting shifting. That's what Acura calls it. You have pedal shift to see if you want to have some fun. Into D2. Nice. It revs high, but it's also responsive at the same time. So it doesn't just rev and no movement. It revs and it shifts quickly. You're not going to get the same performance out of this model compared to the Lincoln Aviator. The Lincoln Aviator is, of course, more powerful. This is more like an enjoyable drive, a bit more relaxing, and you're not always looking to overtake people most of the time. With the Type S, when time comes, you will be able to enjoy a bit more performance compared to this. This, to me, is a proper three-row SUV. It's the car that you want to buy because it does the job well for the situation you're in. The Lincoln is good for that. That's as simple as that. Just put. The thing is that, yes, the Lincoln makes more horsepower. It has a bigger engine and it has a more powerful engine, that's for sure. And that's what it's designed for specific. Unfortunately, we don't have the Type S. This is what you will get with the Lincoln. And if you go all the way to the hybrid, you're making, that one makes more horsepower. And of course, you got a plug-in hybrid, which is like driving a eco-friendly vehicle with 500 horsepower under the hood, right? American style. This is the way I see these two cars. These two cars, I see them this way. One is for the excited driver, the one that needs a bit more power. Unfortunately, doesn't have the Type S option yet. Meanwhile, in the other side, you're looking at a more conservative, family proper SUV, an average family. That's the way I see that. The thing with the Lincoln is, with this suspension system, it's very uncomfortable, and that's not just my opinion. There's also a passenger that agrees with it. It's very stiff on the road compared to that. If you want to get a softer ride, even in regular mode, like we can switch in regular mode, normal mode, you can actually feel it. I'm not even going fast. It's very hard on the road. When you get the air suspension system, that's where things change, because then you have a bit more of a boat ride, but then that's going to cost you a lot more money. So to get to that comfort level of the Acura, technically you must pay more for this. With this package, it's very stiff and very harsh on potholes. Like you have little potholes on the road and you can hear the bang a lot more compared to the Acura MDX. It's also a bit more loud in here compared to the Acura MDX. The cabin noise is not the best out of these two. I'd say the Acura feels better isolated inside. That's one thing I noticed after jumping from that to this. This gives you power. It's also very high off the ground. In here, you feel like you're driving a pickup truck. It feels very high off the ground. In the Acura, you feel more like in a proper SUV. That's the way I see these two vehicles. And the seat in here is very high. It sits very high. I like when the seat is lower, because when you're tall, you want to stretch your legs a little bit more. But the seat comfort in here is better than the Acura, in my opinion. They hug you in, and you have so many ways to adjust it. They give you tons of options. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, to wrap up this video, which one do I like out of these two? See, the Lincoln is the car that you want. It's the 3U SUV that you want. But the MDX is the SUV that you're going to buy. Because this is not cheap. It's going to cost you more compared to the MDX. You're going to put more money. The top trim in here is over $80,000. And if you go for the Grand Touring, the one that is offered in the US, you're looking over $85,000, $90,000. The MDX, the top one fully loaded, you're looking about $70,000. That's including accessory and so on. So you need to look at it in terms of pricing. And I think for the money, both are perfect. For the budget, for the exact money that they offer, for what they cost right now, they're both perfect. They both do an amazing job. In fact, you can pick this over the Ford Explorer any day, because if you add all the features and everything else, you're going to pay more you're going to pay the same for the Explorer. So that's the way I see it. I think these two vehicles fit two different markets. And it's hard to say one is better than the other one, because both have two different pricing positions. One is less expensive, the other one is more expensive, but yet gives you more features. That's the way there's no win in here. This is something you need to keep in mind. There's no win. It just depends on what you can afford and what you're willing to pay. I would pick the Aviator because it offers more power. That's just the way I see it. But if the Type S feels as quick as this when time comes, probably the MDX will do a better job in my opinion. But with that in mind, thanks for watching this. Special thanks goes to Chris at Performance Acura North Mississauga for coming on a Sunday and providing me with the space and helping with the car and so on, making this available to you. There's more comparisons to come, so stay tuned. With that in mind, stay safe. Cheers.